Okay, so we're on week 2. How have we been getting on with our last week? Jamie Lee, did you manage to catch up with the video? Did you get a chance to go through it?
Yes, I caught up on the video. I done the video, and then didn't get to completely do the mobility things. I've on and off done bits here and there, as and when I've done it as and when I could.
That's
printed
nice.
off the. Is it 30 days that you've got
Plan,
the print off? Just like you were saying in the video, just I'll try and do as and when I can get it done.
That's fine. A lot of the core activation stuff you'll remember from Fit for Delivery as well. So so that's good. That'll all come coming back to you, I'm sure.
Yeah, all floods back.
Definitely, that's good. And Nicola, how were you getting on with it? I know you were already kind of a wee bit ahead. So have you moved on to do the next week, or are you just sticking to the first week just now? You going on to week 2? You can sign language to me if you want.
I was just trying to get my hand free.
If you're on a laptop, you can just press your space button and hold it down.
Thanks.
And talk, and then let it go again if you're on a laptop. Instead of having to.
I ended up just sticking with week 1.
Okay.
And I thought that I would just kind of go along with the classes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Here now, so I've just been doing the mobility,
and stuff.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I haven't managed to get the one-to-ones organised yet, just because we are isolated at the moment and I've literally got no time at all. Well, we're actually out now. That's us. I took them to the park this morning for the first time. So I will get in touch with you all over kind of tomorrow, hopefully, and get you all sorted for your one-to-ones at some point for next week, so we can go through all that. But this week we're on week 2 and we're talking about intra-abdominal pressure and posture. So posture has, and every time you say posture, people just sit up like this and stick their chest out. Posture has a lot to do with any kind of muscle joint aches and pains that you might be feeling, because particularly if you are sitting feeding and your shoulders are rounded a lot, and it doesn't matter how you're feeding, you're still going to be sitting in that position for kind of prolonged periods of time. Excuse the shouting that's going on down the stairs. Phoebe's not washed her hands. There you go. Oh, the joys. So yeah, posture is really important for that, and it's important that we have that, remember, sitting on your sit bones so that your pelvis is in that what we call your neutral position, and that helps get a better breath. So if you tried the breath with your tailbone tucked under, like you would kind of slouch in the couch, you don't have enough room for the diaphragm to lift and lower properly and for the lungs to expand. So that's why you get a much better breath when you're sitting in a more optimal posture, and it lets you activate the pelvic floor much more. So if you tried it just kind of slumped in the couch to see if you could do your breath or your pelvic floor, and then you tried it with your sit bones down, sitting up taller, you'd probably be able to feel the difference between both of the positions. So yeah, when you're doing it, try to make sure you're in that posture. If you prefer to do it standing, so that's what I was going to get you to try out today, doing it in a standing position as well. So when we stand, as the picture, I think it might be in next week's, it might be in week 3's, yeah, as I've put the picture. But just quickly, we go through, if we have this kind of pelvic tilt position, quite often, well, in pregnancy, you basically stick your bum back, and that lets bump grow. It lets you get a lot more space and lets baby to go. But what that effectively does is the muscles on the lower back then shorten. So if you're in a kind of neutral position there, and then you go into that, what we call anterior tilt, your lower back muscles get tighter and shorter, and that accounts for a lot of back pain when you're in pregnancy. And quite often we can hold that posture, we can keep that posture. And I would say that if you tend to, if you know that if you're aware of that you stand with your knees locked out, then that can or that you feel that your bum's sticking out, that can generally mean that you're in that anterior tilted pelvis. So in the Facebook group, there is a video for anterior tilted pelvis and a video for posterior tilted pelvis, and it's additional moves that you can do, additional stretches, particularly if you do feel that you're getting back pain. So what happens here is your back muscles get a wee bit tighter, your abdominal muscles get longer, and that can account for diastasis maybe not coming back in as well. Also here, your quads and your hip flexor muscles get really tight as well. So as part of that would be to stretch off the glutes and the hip flexor muscles, and we've done that previously. Some of you will have done it with me with massage balls that you can do on your quads and on your hip flexors. You lie down on your front, and if you've done trigger point Pilates with me, we do a lot of stuff like that as well. So if you're in that anterior tilt position, it generally means that you need quite a lot of stretching and releasing, whereas the posterior tilt is where your hip bones tilt back and you kind of tuck under. So you know, like when you're holding baby and you're kind of pushing your bum forwards, if you feel that you stand with your bum cheeks clenched quite a lot of the time, then that can often mean that you're in that posterior tilted pelvis. And that position generally means that you need a wee bit more strengthening and tightening up of the muscles as well. So that's the kind of difference between both. So what we'll do when we do your one-to-ones is I'll get you to stand so that I can see what position you're kind of more generally in. Nicola, if you need to go and pop her down for a wee nap, feel free. Don't feel you need to listen. You can come back.
I will try in a wee minute. She just takes a wee while to settle. She's that incredible. So
might fall asleep to my voice, you never know. So generally we always adopt one of those positions, and we want to try to do things that will correct that. So those videos are kind of a little bit extra stuff that you can do, or if you feel that your as I say, your back sore or anything like that, they're additional stretches. So all you need to do is go into the Facebook group and type in anterior or posterior, and then these additional videos will come up. I don't know if they're saved as announcements, actually. They might be saved as announcements. But when we do your one-to-one, I'll have a closer look at you, and I'll get you to stand kind of side on towards the camera so that I can check. But if you think that you stand with your bum sticking out and your knees locked, chances are you're in that anterior tilted pelvis. But if you tend to feel that you stand with your bum cheeks clenched a lot, then you would probably be in the posterior tilted pelvis. But it's easier for me when I have a look at you. And we talk a bit more about that next week. So this week, again, we want to talk about what we refer to as intra-abdominal pressure. So if you think about, I think we touched on this a wee bit last week, if you think about the pressure in the abdomen, so if you've got pressure in there and it can't really go anywhere, it's going to then be, if you think about a pressure canister, it's just going to try and burst out of the seams basically. So the way that we have intra-abdominal pressure most commonly is that we hold our breath, and that pressure is created in the abdomen, and then it can't go upwards because you're holding your breath, so your diaphragm's not moving. It tries to push downwards, so it causes a weakness and a pressure down into the pelvic floor, and then it tries to push forwards, which weakens the abdominal wall, which if you've got any diastasis, it can affect that as well. And then it pushes back into the back muscles as well and causes back pain. So if you're holding your breath when you're doing your exercises, or when you're lifting baby, or when you're lifting the pram or car seat or anything like that, try to do just a little out breath. So as you're lifting, you would just go as you stand up. You would just do a little, you'll feel really silly at doing it initially, but what that does is it helps to release the pressure in there so that there's a less chance of weakening the muscles and less chance of creating more back pain or hip pain for you as well. So try to think about doing that. On your sheet here, it basically describes what it is, and intra-abdominal pressure increases when we do the following things. So first of all, when you hold your breath when you're doing anything, and quite often when we're maybe trying to do a pelvic floor, like the Kegel, the initial part, initially before you started doing my stuff, before you knew a wee bit better, or you knew a wee bit more, you would maybe hold your breath and do the Kegel, but we now know that the pelvic floor and the diaphragm work together, so you need to do the breath to be able to incorporate that pelvic floor exercise properly as well. And then when you're lifting things as well, you're creating that pressure, so trying to reduce that as much as possible. So ways that you would be increasing the abdominal pressure is when you're coughing, if you've got excess wind, you're constipated, you're sneezing, you're performing higher impact exercises because it's harder to breathe. Like if you think about trying to breathe when you're doing jumping jacks, not that many of you might be at the stage of doing any jumping jacks, but if you're doing jumping jacks, it's getting that breath, and you end up kind of holding your breath when you're doing it. Lifting the kids or any heavy objects, going just from sitting to standing or from lying down to sitting. That's basically, if you're lying down and you do this, that's a huge sit up. So trying to do that exhale as you're lifting yourself up, or continuing to roll over onto your side and push yourself up as well is completely fine, because that reduces the pressure in there. Performing things like planks, or any isometric, what we call isometric work, is when you're doing an exercise but the muscle just stays contracted the whole time in a plank, or like a wall sit when you're sitting against the wall, coming down into a seated position, you're just holding there. These can create a lot of pressure, and what we need to try and do through that is just breathe through it as well. This is for anyone who is doing anything else like that. Lifting things like shopping bags, prams, or like car seats, and like pushing things, pushing heavy doors, pushing prams, pushing an Aldi trolley when you've been in isolation for 2 weeks and your kids have eaten absolutely everything and you need to go and get a massive Aldi shop. Yeah, you need to breathe when you're doing that as well. So these are the things that create that pressure, and the simple way for us to prevent that is to just exhale as you're doing little things, and it will start to become kind of second nature for you. So as I say, it affects your core and your pelvic floor strength, because that pressure just wants to push out anywhere it can, and it can't go up, it can't go forwards, it can't go down, can't go to the sides. So then it weakens all the muscles in there, and that's what we want to try and reduce. So yeah, so how do we prevent that? We do the exhale on the exertion, and that should be in your plan as well, your little daily plan. When you're doing things like coughing, sneezing, I say laughing as well, but you don't really know. Laughing's it should be quite a spur of the moment thing. Like, you're not going to say, oh, I'm ready to laugh, or like the way you would say, I'm ready to sneeze, I'm ready to cough. When you are coughing and sneezing, try to get that lift through the pelvic floor first. It just gives you that wee bit extra support as well. And when you're laughing, if you can, but generally when you're laughing, you kind of lose all control if it's something funny. Preventing ways again to prevent is learning good techniques. So when you're lifting, try to bend the knees and lift. So instead of just tipping forwards and putting all the pressure into your lower back, bend your knees to come down and up, and then it'll give your legs a good workout, it'll give your glutes a good workout, and it's less pressure across the lower back and in the abdomen as well. Building the foundations before moving on to higher impact exercises. So that's exactly what we were doing last week. So thinking about building the core and the pelvic floor reconnection again, because it has been disrupted. No matter how you've given birth, that pelvic floor and core synergy has been interrupted. So even more so if you have had C-section, because you've got that scar tissue, and that scar tissue acts as a blockage to the full thing, kind of readjusting and coming back as well. So it causes a blockage in the kind of nerve. So that all has to be kind of relearned again. And luckily our bodies are very good at doing that. So it's not that it isn't going to happen. It's just that it can take a wee bit of time. And having that done first before you then move on to doing more higher impact stuff. Staying hydrated and eating high fibre will contribute to reducing constipation. So we'll talk a wee bit more about that on week 6 when we're doing nutrition. And then the other thing is lifting your feet when you're taking a bowel movement. So this is something that some people maybe already do, and some people don't. So you know the little steps that maybe toddlers have got to stand up on to wash their hands and stuff like that. So having one of them, or you can have 2 toilet rolls and turn them flat sides down. Pop your feet on there. So when you're going for a number 2, George, I'll be loving this chat. When you're going for a number 2, doing that, because what it does is, I don't know if you can see this one properly. So when you're sitting, basically what we call your anorectal angle, when you're sitting, your waist has to come down and round like an angle when you're just sitting on the loo. But if you have your knees raised just slightly higher than your hips, then that angle changes so that all your waist just goes straight down, and it's what we call a much more efficient evacuation of your waist, and it can prevent you kind of struggling. It can prevent you from pushing as well, and that has an impact. We'll talk more about that in week 6. That has an impact on your pelvic floor. So if you are affected by constipation, it can have a huge effect on your core and your pelvic floor reconnection as well, and the function of your pelvic floor. So trying to reduce that as much as possible, and we do that by drinking plenty of water, making sure you're hydrated, eating lots of fibre, exercising, maybe doing, like if you've done baby massage for babies' tummies when they're maybe getting a wee bit constipated or that as well, that works for us. It works for us as adults as well. So the exact same thing that you would do for babies, you can do for us. So if you're feeling that you are affected by that as well. It could be hormone related, so it could be at certain times of the month. If you do have a menstrual cycle, it could be that certain times of the month that you feel that you're a bit more constipated, or the opposite scale, and it just has a lot to do with the hormone change as well. So trying to reduce that as much as you can. Raising the feet definitely does help with that as well. People have said to me, oh my goodness, you've changed my life by telling me that. And it's a good thing for, like, when my kids go, they pull out the wee step and stuff as well. Phoebe needs to put 2 of them because she's so small, but it's good for them as well. So it's just a much more healthier way to do it. If you think about all the kind of countries that use the squat, have you ever been away anywhere and they've got like squat toilets, basically just a hole in the floor? Jamie Lee's like, yeah, and I'll never forget it.
The toilet what we have
George
got.
is not impressed by that.
Oh,
What the
Hole in the
heck?
floor.
Hole in the floor to do the toilet.
yeah,
You need that dirty there.
a hole on the floor. So I used to live in Dubai in the Middle East, and all the our apartment and all that had like normal Western toilets in it. But when you went to the beach and it was like public toilets, it was all just a hole in the floor. Like,
Yeah. Sounds so disgusting.
It's healthier. It's healthier. But
What
then,
are you meaning itself? It sounds more disgusting than that.
should we go around and telling our teachers all this? So yeah, they have them all there, and a lot of these countries, the likes of like China and places like that as well, they have a much lower rate of kind of colorectal cancers and stuff as well, because they just have a much more efficient way of getting rid of their waste, which is always a good thing. So yeah, that's all detailed in there for you as well. So that's part of your homework, to do that as well and report back and let me know. You're like, oh yeah, thanks, Pam. Report back. So yeah, and then the next bit talks about, I've done it back to front, I've talked about where the pelvis sits, if it's tucked under or if it's tilted back, then that has a massive effect on the function of your posture. Because if you think about the pelvis being the middle part of the body, and if the pelvis isn't sitting in the right position, so if it's tilted forwards, it's tilted back, that's going to have a knock-on effect to what's going on above the body, above the hips, so like the mid part of the back, the shoulders, the neck, and it's going to have an impact on what's going on below the pelvis, so like the knees and the ankles. And your foot position and your knees have quite a lot to do with your posture and your pelvic floor as well. When you're doing any pelvic floor exercise, always do them with your feet on the floor with no shoes on. Always do them on the floor, because it helps to kind of stimulate the muscles in the what we call the myofascial line. So your body works in kind of lines, basically. So muscles lie along the same myofascial line. So let's talk about the transverse abdominis. That works along the same myofascial line as the sole of the foot. So when you're working things, or when you're doing things for the sole of the foot, it can have a knock-on effect to your overall core strength. And it comes up the leg and the inner thigh. So when we work the inner thighs, you're kind of doing some deep core work already as well, because they just lie so close together on the same myofascial line. And the same as your chest, so your chest muscles, I done a core and pelvic floor, was that last week or was it the week before? And all the exercises where people would say, and we would have done some of these in Fit for Delivery as well, Jamie Lee, like the ring, we use the Pilates ring and we squeeze it. So I would say, well, that is an upper body exercise, but then as soon as you activate the pelvic floor with it, you make it into a core exercise. And that's the type of core exercises we want to do through pregnancy, and we want to do postnatally, because they're the ones that are going to be helping reduce the back pain, helping get that pelvic floor function with, and do that supportive role for your pelvic organs as well. So that when we do that, we can work the upper body, but also be working on that myofascial line as well. The jaw. So if you do your like traditional core exercises, like your planks and maybe sit-ups and crunches and stuff, do you clench your jaw as well? Because this is all aligned to the core, the deeper core and the pelvic floor as well. So just have a wee think when you're doing, if you're doing anything general core, just think, what are you doing with your jaw? Are you clenching your jaw as you're doing it? Because that's just helping increase the strength a little bit. So try to release the jaw when you're doing anything like that as well. What are we on today? So week 2, but then next week what we'll do is we'll start to integrate the breath and the pelvic floor, or the pelvic floor, in with your exercises as well. And I said this last week, so that it's not a case of doing, I need to do my pelvic floor exercises today and I need to do my actual exercises today. We combine them both and do them both together so that it's just one set of exercises you need to do, because first of all, you're all mums and you've not got time for all that. You need to just do something really quick. You need 5 minutes to say, do you know, I've done my pelvic floor exercises today, and that's all we need. Second of all, it's much more real to life. It's much more functional, and because your body doesn't, I could sit and do my pelvic floor exercises here, but unless I incorporate that in with maybe chest muscles or leg muscles or something else with my body moving at the same time, it's not really going to be that effective. So that when you do then go to move, your pelvic floor and your core might not be as strong, and that's when you maybe pull little muscles in the lower back or whatever. So we need to incorporate them together so it's more real to life as well. So that's the main reason that we want to incorporate it all in. Today's exercises they're all postural stuff, and we're going to use an exercise band, which is mine's behind me. But if you don't have, it's just a long exercise band. If you don't have a long exercise band, you can use a pair of tights because they've got a little bit of stretch in them. So you need something that's got a wee bit of give so that you can do your exercises with them. And I'll run through them. Has anyone got any questions about the intra-abdominal pressure, about the position of the pelvis? We'll do a wee bit more on that next week, because next week is glutes, or constipation, anything. Anything that you want to check through? No. Exercise wise, if you've got your hand,
me think, I don't know where my stools went to. My wee step, I've always had one of them. I don't know where it is now.
Yeah, oh, you'll find it somewhere, I'm sure. You'll find it somewhere. So yeah, dig it out. But if you can use 2 toilet rolls kind of sitting up on their side, on the flat bit, and it's just, you just want your knees just to raise a wee bit higher as well, and it's more kind of like, it's kind of like effortless, basically, and that's what you want. You don't want to be pushing and creating any more weakness in there as well. So, and take a wee bit more time over it as well. Here we go, we're getting into my favourite chat here. Sorry, Georgia. Take a wee bit more time. We're always like we just go and do it quickly and that's it. But think about, do your husbands or partners like they're away for 20-30 minutes kind of thing? She's laughing. And I think they just kind of make sure it's done, basically. So when you take a wee bit more time, obviously with us, we tend to have other people around us when we're doing that type of thing as well. Like, you never get to do it on your own. Whereas, Andy's like, going to get them out, I'm going to the toilet. And I'm like, well, they're always in with me every day when I'm in the toilet type thing. But anyways, the joys. So anything that you want to ask, anything you want to check before we do a wee bit of movement? No, we all right. The mobility moves, do you want me to go over any of them or any of them that you're unsure about? Nicola, I meant to ask you actually, how was the change with the thread the needle for the wrist and stuff? Did you change that?
Yeah, I've been doing it against the wall.
Oh, good. And does it feel better?
Yeah, a lot good. Better. My wrist it's getting worse.
Is it? Oh no.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. What about, did you still feel that you get a good stretch when you do it as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You feel a good stretch?
I've been making sure that I've been stretching.
Yeah, because you need to go quite far when you're holding against the wall, go quite far around and make sure you keep that hand flat, because sometimes you'll maybe start to lift the pinkies off, but just keep that hand flat so that you're keeping that rotation. And there was something else, wasn't there? Was there something else I was going to check with you? No, it wasn't. It was just that you had been, if you'd moved on a week. That's what I was meaning to ask. So is there any of the mobility stuff you want me to go through, or will we just run through your exercises for today? Obviously, if you've got baby there, you can just watch and do this whenever. The way the plan works as well, I don't know if I explained this to you last week. I can't really remember if I did or not. So that's not the right one. It's not the right one. So the way that the plan worked was that, there it is. So the things that we do in week 1, just because we're into week 2 doesn't mean we don't do the week 1 stuff. We still incorporate it in, but we just do it less. So last week we done like the mobility video, or it's on the plan, not that you had to do it 3 times, but it's on the plan for 3 times. Whereas this week it's on your plan for twice. And then the next week it'll be on the plan twice again. And then the following week, I think it's on the plan once. So that it's still a reminder that you still do them week to week. And you just, the mobility stuff is really good just to do at any point that you're feeling a wee bit stiff or sore. It really does help. Jamie Lee, do you still use your massage balls as well?
I don't think I've not used them since. No, I did actually, because I had problems with him latching in the first 9 weeks.
Okay.
And my shoulders really sore. I've been seeing Sam as well.
Oh, good.
But I've not used them for a wee while actually. Now you've said that, reminded me.
Are you doing them standing?
Yeah,
so go on to
just putting them in at my shoulder blades, and because that's where I'm really sore.
Yeah, go on to my YouTube
there.
channel and have a wee look, and you'll see that there's lying, because we never done the lying down ones, obviously, when through Fit for Delivery when you're pregnant. There's lying down ones that you can do as well. So you basically, it's kind of the same things that you would do in the wall, but you're lying on them. You might feel that much more effective. If it's too intense, if it's too sore, there, perfect. She's like,
George just retrieved me them. She's running about getting everything that you say.
Shall we find that stool? Shall we get
Even Granny got my tights.
Tights as well, fabulous. I think I need one of them actually. I think I need an assistant.
She just asked me. She doesn't even ask me to get her in, but I just go and get her.
That's great. I need to ask my girls about 25 times to do something. Maybe she say
only if she wants to.
Only if she wants to.
Do it if I want. If I don't want it, I don't.
But on the YouTube channel, Jamie Lee, you'll find. Have you got massage balls, Nicola? No, they're really good to get. They if you've got any pain in your shoulders and stuff, it's kind of feels like having a massage. But go on there and you'll see kind of upper back movements. Or if you go onto my Flaunt It Fitness Facebook page and go into the videos, they should be in there as well. But I think it's probably easier to find on the YouTube channel. And it'll give you loads of things you can do lying down. There's also a Trigger Point Pilates class, full class in there if you wanted to try that out. If you get a big roller, did you have the big roller as well? No, so just get a long towel.
Georgia says I do, but I don't.
All right, a big long one, because you need to be able to lie on it. So the small ones are only about 30 centimeters, but you need a really long one so your spine can fit on it. So you would do it with, this is for anyone obviously that wants to try this as well. You would get like a towel or maybe 2 towels long ways and roll them up really tightly so that you can lie on it. So your tailbone goes at one end.
What we have got.
What's that?
We've got the small one.
Oh, you need this one. This is a big one. So that your whole spine lies on it. So you have basically your tailbone at one end, knees bent, feet on the floor, spine along it, and your head. Make sure your head's supported on the other end as well. But you can do a makeshift one with like a towel. As I say, just roll it up into like a big sausage, and it's great. It's really good for any kind of back pain or anything like that you're feeling. And if you want to try out the Trigger Point Pilates class, there's one there on YouTube that you can try out and see, even if you want to just try the initial wee bit. But there's plenty of things on there with the massage balls. The massage balls are great because it's kind of like you're very on masseuse. So Jamie Lee goes to see Sam Massage Therapy, who is based in, is she only doing from home just now, do you know, or do you?
No, I think she's in East Kilbride as well, and it's a Wednesday at the weekend.
Right, I know she used to be in East Kilbride, but I wasn't sure if she was back there or not. And she specialises in pregnancy and postnatal massage. And I would highly recommend her if you've had C-section, because she does C-section scar tissue release as well. And did she teach you kind of how to do it? Had you seen her before about that, or was that just since having looked?
No, the first time I met Sam was when I was doing Fit for Delivery, so I done a pregnancy massage. And then I went and seen her postnatally, so she did a postnatal massage, and then after 12 weeks she's worked on my scar as well, so she's doing that. So I've still got problems from my scar from when I had Georgia, which I've never worked on before. So she's working on doing all of that, and she's really good. See, the things she can tell you that you don't even see, and then she shows you exactly how the position and all that.
She'll do things like she'll take a picture of it beforehand and she'll massage, and then she'll take a picture of it after, and you can see. So the scar tissue will cause like kind of imbalance in the body and stuff as well. So if anyone's had C-section, then I would highly recommend going to see Sam. Where are you, Nicola? You're not local here, are you? Where are you again?
I'm West Lothian, so I'm not allowed to leave the area or anything just now.
Of course. I'm wondering if I can find anybody that's out that way.
I was a natural delivery.
Oh, God, so you were. Sorry, I'm thinking.
That's all right.
What was I thinking that? Can't remember. I don't know why I was thinking that. So yeah, but anyone else who's had C-section, Sam, and she has a C-section care pack as well. That's good, and it goes on. I do a nutrition chat and all that type of thing.
I was going to say, I think you're in that, aren't you?
I'm in that, yeah. I'm not affiliated. I don't get paid any money. I'm not like recommending it because I get a cut of it or anything. No, she made it up through lockdown because she'd always wanted to do it and just never had the time, and then obviously not being able to work doing massage, she took the time and she asked me and a lot of other kind of women's health people, nutritionists and exercise instructors and stuff to do some stuff on it. So because I've got my degree in nutrition, that's what I done for her on there. So it's quite good. But she's great. She does scar tissue massage for like breast cancer patients and like burns. She had somebody who had like facial burns and stuff and done massage therapy for them as well. And it just has such a duty. She's very highly trained, so highly recommend her. Anyone who isn't local and you want to find somebody that does this, let me know, because I can access a directory basically of people in certain areas. So if anyone needs any help with accessing that, then you can let me know. So I'm going to run through these exercises with you. Where's my week 2? What did I do with it? There it is. Week 2. So if you've not got baby in hand and you want to do these, then that's fine. These exercises are also made as simple and easy as possible for you. And one of the things I've done is you don't need to do a full warm-up beforehand. You can do it in your jeans as well. So, you know, like getting changed, I need to get changed, do my workout, or I need to do a warm-up. Take out those barriers. I've just made it as easy as possible for you so that you don't actually need to do any of that. And you can just get straight into the exercises. So I'm going to set up here. Let me just move this here a second. Studio boudoir. Due to isolation. There we go. And I was practicing my bar beforehand, and we were out in the park earlier, so I've still got my socks on because my feet were cold. My feet were cold. Practicing my bar for tonight because I've got a new routine coming. Okay, so there we go. So we're going to run through. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exercises that we're going to run through, starting with your feet about hip distance apart. Now, one of the things I want you also to try to do afterwards, maybe just at one point, is try that breath and pelvic floor activation when you're standing. Don't try and adjust your shoulders or your pelvis. Just practice it standing and notice the difference between, do you feel it easier standing or do you feel it easier when you're seated? And we'll talk about that a wee bit more in your one-to-one, but I just want you to practice it before we do that. So we're going to start with a scapular retraction, what we call, so your hands are out about shoulder width and just not even any tension on the band. And from there, I'll do it this way first. From there, all you're doing is taking a breath in, and then as you breathe out, you're just straightening the arms, pulling them out to there. So the band comes towards your chest, and then inhale as you go forwards. Exhale as you're pulling back. Inhale as you go forwards. And as you're doing that, really think about pulling the shoulder blades together. So if you do it like this, here, la-di-da-di-da, shoulders will work a wee bit, but we really want to work into the shoulder blades. So as you exhale, draw the chest, the band back towards your chest as you're breathing out. Now, if you wanted to and you felt comfortable enough, you could introduce the pelvic floor into that as well. So you would breathe in, and then you would breathe out, and you would lift through the pelvic floor. But if that's a step too far just now for you, just go through the movements and we'll be integrating that next week. So what this one does for posture is it helps to strengthen all the muscles across here, the upper back, back of the shoulders, in between the shoulder blades. And when those muscles strengthen, they help to draw your shoulder blades together and draw your shoulders back, as opposed to the roundedness of the shoulders. And that's what we want to try and work on. So from there, you're breathing in, exhale, and this is all done on the video. I think it's like a 45 seconds or 50 seconds you work for. But if you were doing it without the video, you would do maybe about 15 reps or so. So if you think, I've not got time to set up the video and stuff, but I know what the exercises are, then you would do roughly about 15 to 20, say, exhaling as you're pulling back, okay? Give the shoulders a wee shake. Your next one from there is a press up. So you've got 2 options here. You do it on the wall, which I can't do, I've got a slanty wall, but I'll kind of demonstrate as much as I can, or you do it on the floor. You would do it on the floor if you've not got any diastasis, and if you can really get that pelvic floor activation as you do the exhale. So when you're on the wall, basically I'm standing here, that's my imaginary wall. I'm taking a step back and my bum is coming downwards. Not a very good demonstration here today. I'll turn that way actually. And then all you're doing is you're bending and bringing your nose towards the wall, and then you're pushing back. So you're breathing in as you're going forwards, and then you're breathing out as you go back. And the way you would then, if you think the wall press up, oh well, that's too easy, I'm feeling that that's fine, you would start to then work down the wall a wee bit. So you would choose maybe like your kitchen table or something that's sturdy. I wouldn't recommend doing it on the cushions of a couch or the bed, but I'm just going to show you it for demonstration reasons, is because I've not got a wall or anything here. So my hand would be there and my upper body would be raised, and I would be doing my press up there. So I would inhale going down, and then I would exhale as I come back. And that would be, you would gradually lower the hands down towards the floor. And that should be your kind of ideal way to build up to doing floor press ups, whether they're on the knees or on the toes, that doesn't really matter. But that would be how you would build up to it. If you have diastasis, again, that would be the push up that you do. The other option to work the chest, if you're not keen on the push up for wrists, Nicola especially, you would be here. So you would take the band kind of behind where your bra line is, and you would have, did we do a thumbs up or thumb? Doesn't really matter just now, but fist facing forwards, and your fists are like in line with your elbows in that position. So it's not that your fists are in here. So just open them out and you're standing. You would take that breath in, and then you would exhale and push and bring the hands towards each other. And then you would inhale as you go back and exhale as you go forwards. So that exercise is in there anyway, but this would be just a different option if you're not doing push-ups. Exhaling there and then inhaling, coming back. You could always try the push-up on the wall, Nicola, and then see how it is. If not, I would just leave it for the wrist. So try this one with me. So breathing in, exhaling, and you can also do this one or the standing, the scapular retraction. You could do them seated as well if you don't want to do them standing. So exhaling here as you're going forwards, inhaling as you're coming back. Exhale, keeping the arms, keeping the elbows just about level with the shoulders or just slightly lower. Exhaling as you come forwards and inhaling as you come back. How do they ones? Are they ones okay so far? Yeah, good. Perfect. Okay, so your next one we're going to do is your lateral pull down, which some of you may recognise from if you're in a gym or whatever. Again, you can sit on your ball. If you've still got that big gym ball hanging around and you want to put it to good use, then you could do all these on that as well. Your lateral, I'm going to come onto my knees just so you can see my arms, but you can do it standing or kneeling. So I'm up here, hands are out, you've got a little bit of tension on the band, taking a breath in, and then as I exhale, I'm drawing the band down towards my chest, and then I'm pushing back up again. So exhale, and then inhale, exhale, and then inhale, go side on so you can see. So starting there, I'm not pushing my head back, I'm not pushing my head forward, just keeping it kind of in a natural position. Exhale as I pull down. And when I'm doing that, thinking about the shoulder blades, so my shoulder blades are here. As I'm doing it, the bottom corner of my shoulder blades, think about squeezing them together. So as you're drawing down, pull the bottom part of your shoulder blades together and really squeeze the elbows in towards your ribs as you're doing it as well. Good. That looks good, Nicola. Perfect. And you're exhaling as you're coming down. And again, on the video, I can't remember off the top of my head if it's 40, 45 or 50 seconds we're working for, but you would do between about 15 to 20 repetitions. And to make this one more difficult, all you would do is take your hands closer on the bands. You would just move the hands in closer. I also sometimes use, I don't know if I've got it here, hold on, mini bands for a lot of my exercises. Yeah, I do. Just if anyone's got these, I always find that these are better for that one, just because they add a lot more tension. And I would just place my hands either side. So if you've got a little band like that, then you can also use that. But the long one is also fine. Mini bands are good, very good for glutes and stuff as well. So if you're looking for any equipment to buy, you can buy like a set of these. I think they're like five of these for maybe just about £8 or £9 or so on Amazon. They're really good. So that was your lat pull down, the chest press, and then your row. So the way that this one is set up, I think on the video, is on a door handle, but you can do it seated. So the way that my door handle sits is I open the door up, the kind of inside edge is facing me, and the two handles are sitting here. So what I do is I take my band and I push it against the edge of the door, and then I wrap it around the handle and pull it. In the rugby club, I think it's just a handle on the door that I just loop it round, but you can also do this one seated. So there's two ways to do this one. So you've got your bands coming around your feet, around the balls of the feet. Try not pull against your toes, and then you've got a little bit of tension there. You're sitting on those sit bones, remember, so that you're in that optimal position for your breath, your posture and your pelvic floor. You take a breath in, and as you breathe out, you pull back, and then breathe in, go forwards. As you're pulling back, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and my elbows are in quite tight. So there, my elbows are pulling behind me, and then I'm going forwards again. So they're pulling back. And again, this one's really good for your posture. It works in between the shoulder blades and coming down the muscles either side of the spine as well. So you're exhaling as you pull. And again, if you're there, you can add in that pelvic floor lift on that exhale as well if you wanted. The other one is just take the hands back slightly as you breathe in, hold it there, then breathe out and pull the elbows up higher. And that just works across the upper back a wee bit more. So 2 different positions for you. So your narrow row where your hands are in close, and then this is your wide row where your hands come out a wee bit higher. And it's just working different muscles on the back to help with your posture. And that's all of those. That is all of those. 2 feet, yeah, that's right. Okay. So let me know how do they feel? Do they feel okay? Do any of them that you want to go over, or you want me to go over Nicola's thumbs up? Jamie Lee, how do they feel? All good?
All good, fine.
Perfect. And as I say, it's all designed so that you don't need to, I'm trying to take out the things that stop us doing an exercise. So like, you don't need to do the thorough warm up. You don't need to get changed. You can be standing making dinner with your jeans on and you can still do some of these. So if you think, oh, well, I know that that's going to be cooking away for 10 minutes, just do one exercise. I mean, it's not, you don't have to stick to, oh, I can't do any of the exercises because I've not got 6 minutes. Then you could do one move 3 times a day or something like that. Break it all down as much as just to make it easy for yourself and do it. And the more you do that, the more it becomes habit. I mean, I'm always in the kitchen with my bands around my knees doing my exercises and stuff because it's just how, because I just don't have the time to set aside a lot of time to do the exercises as well. So I just do them whenever I can. Makes it much easier. And it's less pressure as well. Less pressure on you. Any questions? Anything you want to ask from last week or this week?
Mine isn't related to anything you've said, but I just have a question.
Yeah, of course.
That I know that you'll be able to answer. What kind of, when I'm doing a wee bit more exercise classes that I'm thinking of starting with yourself, what would you suggest? You know, obviously I'm breastfeeding, so not I wouldn't want to put my old bras back on, if you know what I mean, my exercise bras. What would you say?
I would avoid the kind of impact stuff initially. So things like from my timetable, did you say there? Yeah, from what I'm doing.
Yeah, I was going to do that, or the lift and lean, but whatever.
Lift lean would be good because you can actually incorporate that. Well, because it's resistance, it's not really quick, so you can incorporate the breath and the pelvic floor in with the resistance, so you could get all that in together. So lift lean is like a toning conditioning type thing, so that would be an ideal class. Any classes like that. So what have I got coming up? So Monday I've got a because it's my new timetable, I've not put it out yet. Monday is a lift lean express, and that's actually going to be like 1 weights exercise with like a body weight exercise type thing. And I always say, all of my classes, I always say, if you're newly postnatal or you've got diastasis, this is your option, because I just know that so many girls are in that stage. So that's always just part of my explanation. And if I don't explain it, it just means that you don't need to change anything. So I've got that. And then on the Tuesday, I've got lift, lean and restore. Restores this week is all about stressing less. And then the following week is like a full body release with the trigger point stuff as well. So if you're feeling aches and pains and you'd quite like a nice stretch, and that would help. Trigger point, as I say, in the Wednesday. And then the Thursday, we've got bar. So hit the bar, which would still be fine because it's not an impact exercise. Just some of the floor work I would maybe adjust slightly for you. But yeah, that would be fine, and that's really good for posture. It's really good for the glutes and stuff as well, particularly if you're in that posterior tilted pelvis, which, as I say, we'll figure all that out when I do the one-to-ones. It's a really good class for that. And then it's trigger point, and then the fitness Pilates on the Friday. Yeah, I would say mainly the conditioning ones, and because you don't want that impact, because one reason is because you're for your bras, because you don't want to be causing any compression there, because it can lead to clogged ducts and whatnot type thing. So, and it's just uncomfortable. I would, if you could, no matter what exercise you're doing, try to feed baby just beforehand, if you could do, but if you can't, then that's fine. But the conditioning stuff for that, also for that kind of strength impact, because at the stage that most of you're at, that kind of strength and conditioning type work is what's going to help a lot of the things. It also helps boost your metabolism, boost your bone health, and yeah, just generally kind of increase your strength and stuff. So I would say that. Also the higher impact, when you're breastfeeding, you need to just be careful of like your joints and stuff as well. Have you got hypermobility?
Yes.
Yes. I just remembered that there as well. And I talk about that through the classes. So if you've got hypermobility, you would just kind of, I say, stay within a normal rate. Well, I wouldn't say stay with, but you would be told stay within a normal range of motion, but actually your hypermobile is normal for you. So it's just about that strength work can really help with that as well. So yeah, that would all be helpful. And the impact, if you're doing maybe jumps or anything like that, then you're just much higher risk with the breastfeeding and being in that still that 12 to 14 month postnatally. Everybody has all these hormones still going around, so you need to be careful with your impact stuff then, and also with your hypermobility. You don't want to be increasing your risk of breaking an ankle, because that's the last thing you need.
No thanks.
So yeah, that's what I would say. Generally, the kind of strength stuff, conditioning stuff would all be fine, and you can incorporate your breath and your pelvic floor in with it as well. So yeah, you can let me know what you think.
Yeah, I'll try and get started next week, because I've not done any kind of anything. This is the first, and then walking, I suppose I've been doing that. Yeah. And we did build a wee kind of gym in the garage that I started when I was about 6 weeks.
Right.
And I've been out a few times on just a pedal bike with Georgia.
Yeah.
But this weather in the dark nights is making that impossible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I went on the bike dead on 6 weeks, and boobs, and that wasn't an ideal thing to do.
No, definitely not. And yeah, so I would just say that, and anything that does feel uncomfortable for you, you just let me know, and I just change the exercise for you as well. So we'll do some chest work in that as well, and if that's uncomfy, then you just adapt it slightly. So that's all right. But let me know what you're thinking. I'll put the timetable out. Hopefully I'll get it uploaded tonight. If I don't get it uploaded tonight, it'll be tomorrow night. But off the top of my head, that was what I was doing next week. But I've still just to finalise, I think, the Thursday pop-up class that I'm doing. I do a different class every Thursday at 5:30. And I've been doing mobility the last couple of weeks, and everyone's been really enjoying that. So I've been doing a wee bit more of that. And then the Monday's going to be the same. It's a different class every Monday as well. So legs, bums, tums. Remember Blast? Do you remember the Blast class we used to do?
Yes.
So legs, bums, tums is going to be like that. Yeah. So anything else, Nicola, you okay there? Anything you're wanting to check?
She's awake.
Is she?
Aye.
No wanting to go down. Probably missing out, thinking, oh, who are you talking to?
Tiredest girl in all the land, and she sleeps for half an hour.
God. Well, I'll love you and leave you. I'll let you get on. But if you've got anything to ask at all, just let me know. I'll email out this recording tonight when I'm emailing out my other ones for my classes as well. So just let me know if there's anything that you're needing any help with. And next week, we're all about glutes. All righty?
Yep, I'll try and get him to sleep too. Although he done 10 minutes, so that's a bonus.
Oh, well. Better than nothing. No, that's fine. Okie dokie. Right, thank you, ladies. Have a good day.
You too, bye.
Right, speak to you soon.